Hauling any kind of hazardous materials is serious business. Therefore, the DOT requires that any driver that pulls hazardous materials must go through training. The purpose of this video is to give you the basic training you will need in order to haul the hazardous materials our customers are wanting us to ship. Due to the small amount of hazardous materials we will be hauling, it will not be necessary for you to keep or obtain a hazardous materials endorsement on your driver's license.
So what is a hazardous material? A hazardous material is defined as any substance or material that can adversely affect the safety of the public, handlers, or carriers during transportation. The Department of Transportation divides hazardous materials up into 9 different classes. Class 1 is for explosives. This company and this affiliates will not be hauling any explosive or Class 1 hazardous materials. Class 2 are gases and would include pressurized gas containers. Class 3 are flammable or combustible liquids. This would include gasoline, diesel fuel, and many others. Class 4 hazardous materials are flammable solids or are spontaneously combustible or reactive or dangerous when wet. Class 5s are oxidizers and organic peroxides. Many fertilizers fall under this category. Class 6 is for poisons and poison inhalation hazards. Class 7 is radioactive materials. We will not be hauling any of these materials. Class 8 is for corrosives such as acids, and Class 9 is a miscellaneous class for materials that do not neatly fit into the other 8 categories. This company and its affiliates will not be hauling any Class 1 explosives or Class 7 radioactive materials. So how does a driver know that he is hauling hazardous materials? First, look at the containers that they have loaded on your truck. The new globally harmonized system for classifying and labeling hazardous materials ensures that all hazardous materials have the same labels on them. This is an example label of the GHS standard. Included on all labels are the product name and number, the supplier's name and emergency contact information, and precautionary statements. And the precautionary statements will be what you need to do in case of fire and what steps to take in the event that first aid is required from ingestion or being exposed to the material. In the top right corner of this label will be 1 or more hazard pictograms. The presence of these graphics automatically tell the driver that the material is classified as hazardous. There are 9 different pictograms used in the GHS standard. In the first is the health hazard graphic. Materials displaying this pictogram can be carcinogenic, mutagenic, or toxic to the whole body or just particular parts or organs. The flame is used for materials that are flammable. This can include materials that self-heat, give off flammable gases, or certain types of reactive materials. The exclamation point is reserved for skin or eye irritants, as well as materials that are acutely toxic, have narcotic effects, or that can irritate the respiratory tract. The gas cylinder pictogram is used for containers of pressurized gases. Materials that can corrode or burn the skin or eyes, or can be corrosive to metals, are labeled with the corrosion pictogram. The exploding bomb graphics is for explosives or materials that can react explosively. Oxidizers are labeled with the flame over circle pictogram. Environmental pictograms are used on materials that are toxic to marine life if they are exposed to the material. And finally, the skull and crossbones is used on acutely toxic materials. These materials can cause great harm from accidental exposure or ingestion. On the label, under these pictograms will be a signal word and hazard statement. These quickly tell the driver what the hazards of this particular material will be. Looking at our sample label, the pictograms for health hazard and flame are evident. The hazard statement claims that the material contains highly flammable liquid and vapor. It also may cause liver and kidney damage. This is obviously a hazardous material and will need to be treated as such. Any hazardous materials will also be listed on the bill of lading. These materials will be at the top of the list of the materials shipped and will be clearly marked as a hazardous material. In this example, 3 different hazardous materials are listed. These are noted with an X in the Hazmat or HM column. Weights are also listed. Be sure that the weight of these materials are under 1,000 pounds. If the material is over 1,000 pounds, or if you think the hazardous materials may weigh more than 1,000 pounds, Contact your safety department before leaving the shipper. When loading the hazardous material, be sure that the loader places the material on the trailer in a safe location so that it can be secured. Take the steps needed with your securement so that any cargo on your trailer cannot shift or fall into the hazmat containers. The containers themselves must be secured so that they cannot shift or tip over during transit. While on the road, your tractor, trailer, and load will not need hazmat placards because of the small quantity of hazardous materials we will be hauling. While in the cab of your truck, the bill of lading has to be within reach while you are sitting in the driver's seat. Placing the bills in the overhead compartment or in the door pocket of your truck will ensure you are in compliance with this rule. As with any other time you are out there on the road, drive defensively. This means giving yourself enough space, visibility, and time to deal with any potential problems. Finally, be sure that you are doing your load checks. The first check should be done within the first 50 miles, then once every 150 miles or every 3 hours, whichever comes first. When delivering to the consignee, inspect the hazardous materials to ensure that a shift has not occurred in transit. Once you have verified this, then it is okay to unstrap the cargo for offloading. Accidents happen daily on American roads. An accident which involves a hazardous material requires special handling. First, you have to minimize personal exposure to the material itself. This includes yourself and others that may be at the scene. No one should come in contact with the material or breathe the fumes or vapors that the hazardous material may be emitting. Once you are safe from physical exposure, call 911. After calling 911, the next step is to notify the Risk Management Department. The Risk Management Department can be reached at the following extensions. When you speak with Risk Management, notify them that you have a hazardous material on board immediately.
This is the Risk Management Department. How may I help you?
This is Dale. I'm in truck 1502 and I've had an accident and I have hazardous material.
Okay. Is everyone okay or is anyone hurt at the scene?
Notice that the driver has the bill of lading in his hand when he calls. This is of extreme importance. The Risk Management Department will need specific information that is on the bill of lading in order to ensure that the accident is handled properly. The Risk Management Department will give you instructions on how to proceed from there. You will also need to immediately notify any emergency first responders that arrive on the scene in order to help ensure their safety. Obviously, we look to avoid any accident. Take every precaution in order to keep yourself, the cargo, and the people around you safe. First, this means protecting yourself from exposure to the hazardous material itself. Proper personal protective equipment such as gloves and safety glasses go a long way toward this. Leather work gloves will absorb liquids, so be mindful that they may not protect against direct exposure to chemicals. The fumes and vapors put off by hazardous materials may be harmful as well, so stay clear of them. Use proper shoes and attire when working and keep your work area clean of stumbling hazards. This will help reduce the risk of slips, trips, and falls. Also be sure that you are using 3 points of contact when entering or exiting your tractor or getting up on the trailer. To avoid spills and cargo shifts, be sure that your tie downs are placed over the load to hold them securely without doing damage. Straps should be tight enough to hold the freight in place without damaging the containers. While on the road, be sure you are driving defensively. There are several keys to defensive driving. The first key is to be sure that you are looking far enough ahead. A driver needs to scan ahead a minimum of 15 seconds. This look ahead time, also called eye lead time, allows a driver to detect potential problems further out, giving him or her more time to plan and react. The second key is having good awareness, not just in front of your truck, but awareness of what may be beside and behind you. To keep a good circle of awareness around your truck, a driver needs to scan at least one of his or her mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds. Remember that you have to keep your eyes moving because conditions around your truck are constantly changing. Another key is having good space all the way around the truck, including what is in front, behind, and on both sides of your vehicle. A driver has the most control of the space in front of him, so proper following distance is very important. The driver of a tractor trailer should maintain a minimum following distance of 7 seconds, regardless of if the truck is loaded or not. In inclement weather conditions such as rain or snow, this distance should be increased. This distance affords the driver better visibility and more space, which gives the driver more time to see, react, and make decisions. Finally, you need to be sure that the people around you are aware of you. One way of doing this is to try to establish eye contact with other drivers and pedestrians. Remember, just because they have seen you does not mean they will make the right decision. A defensive driver will also make good use of his warning devices, including headlights, horns, turn signals, and brake lights. These devices help communicate your intentions to other drivers. There are security considerations a driver needs to take when transporting hazardous materials, since some of these materials could possibly be used in an act of terrorism. To prevent the theft of this material, a driver should park his or her truck in a well-lit and well-traveled area. An area that is under video surveillance is preferable. If you discover that a part of your hazmat shipment has been stolen or tampered with, contact the Risk Management Department immediately.
Hauling this small amount of hazardous materials will create opportunities for you as the driver as well as the companies you drive for. Take the steps needed to keep yourself, the people around you, and the materials safe. If you have any questions on what you've seen in this video, please contact your safety department. Be safe out there.